In this video, we're going to explore how horror films and other genres use context to create tension, ultimately creating stories that can scare us without outwardly scaring us. Let me explain. When writing or directing films, one of the most important components when moving your story forward is tension. Films are built on the raising and falling of tension, and this tension can manifest itself in many different ways. For example, this could be a threat, an antagonist, or for a lot of people the most relatable would be a giant fight scene. But raising and lowering this tension at certain points can help the filmmaker weave a compelling and enjoyable movie. There's a number of points within a movie where the tension is raised, where the audience will be on the edge of their seats. And there's points where this tension will be broken, where we see a lowering of this tension, creating a break within the story. As an easy example, let's think of the point that has the highest tension. This is the climax. And by the end of the film, after the climax has ended, we then usually see a sudden lowering of this tension. It's important to remember that films shouldn't always have a heightened state of tension, nor should they have too little. The points of higher and lower tension, however, will be different for every story. So if we focus on horror films, these films can do small things to create scares and increase this tension, rather than relying on these large spectacles and visual effects. And this method is quite simple, really. It's about creating context to the threat, rather than showing the threat itself. But what do I mean by this? If we look at the current film, The Invisible Man, they're able to create fear simply by showing actions made from our lead, followed by showing shots with no movement. Whether that's movement of the camera or movement from anything within the frame. This makes us imagine certain movements within the shot, and we then focus on all the details within the scene. This allows us to build the fear ourselves. And this is without spending an extra dollar on effects and bells and whistles. Or the film series Paranormal Activity that uses camera footage and holds shots. Using camera footage with the use of holding a shot, as well as the low quality camera footage, which can confuse the brain into thinking we're seeing movements, even if they aren't. Allowing us to look at any potential movement or noise in the footage as a potential threat. Another example is a film such as Contagion. In this film, we see people picking up glasses, shaking hands, moving pieces of paper around. These things, without context to the fact that it's a virus film, would be seen as almost mundane and irrelevant to the story. But in this context, we see everything that's being touched as a potential threat. In this case, it being the virus. Again, the context is giving the film its tension. Following the simple understanding that films are powered by the rise and fall of tension, great filmmakers have the ability of finding new and creative ways of raising and lowering this tension. But it usually doesn't work on its own. Let's explore some factors which can help this process. The most obvious of these is music. The music used can create an image in the viewer's mind, regardless of the scene. To see this in practice, let's look at this shot. This is a pretty simple shot, right? But now let's place a sad soundtrack into the shot. This automatically changes the mood to show a somber interpretation. Now let's change it up again. In extension to this is sound. Adding the addition of small but profound audio bites can add new story points and cues within the scene, this steering the audience's mind in different directions, having a clear effect on the story. For instance, adding the sound of footsteps, invoking the idea that someone else is in that scene. Or the sound of thunder, invoking the idea that a threat is coming. Within certain film genres, we can use the scene itself and the overall story to give meaning to any given shot. Referring back to the film Contagion, we have already been shown that the film is focusing on the hidden virus threat, showing the audience early on in the film what to focus on. From this point, this can be now used as the focal point to the tension in the film. And just like paranormal, where we've been shown that the threat is supernatural, and then when holding a shot, the audience automatically knows to be on the lookout for anything supernatural. For example, moving objects, figures, or anything else that might move in that scene. And this can be expanded to characters. If a character has been portrayed to the audience as being slightly strange or dangerous, we then look at those characters with an eagle eye, looking for quirks in their behaviour or personality. Expressing to the audience early on in the film what we should perceive as the threat creates a compass in the viewer's mind and guides the audience's attention to different elements within the film and the film's story. In summary, when you're making a movie, it doesn't always matter how you create the tension. Rather, focusing on the context of the story and having a focus of moving the story forward is key. So using small tricks to create tension can sometimes be just as powerful and satisfying to the audience. Always stay true to your story and making sure that it moves forward, and the tension should rise and fall when necessary, no matter how complicated or simple this might be.